Mansfield today, right, let's climb into the garden with Green Little Gnome. Mel Walker.
You're calling me a gnome?
Our green little gnome.
I thought I was your green goddess.
Sorry, our green little gnomette.
Gnomely grommet.
What are we talking about? Birds and bees?
No, we're talking about bats and owls, because I got bats in my belfry. Well, actually, I love bats.
I adore bats. There's nothing nicer. We've got a bat box at our place outside Dahlstrom. And you sit on the stoep overlooking the 5 dams that run down. Sit there in the evening, and as the sun starts really setting, and from the light of the stoep, you get all the insects attracted in, and then suddenly then it all starts, and this entire, all you hear is, they're absolutely beautiful little characters.
Well, we have quite a lot in my house as well, but my cat doesn't know what to do with them. He looks like he looks like he should be flying as well. He looks like Toothless from How to Train a Dragon. But I'll hear him, and he's got a specific meow when he comes through. But will bring a bat, but he doesn't know what to do with it. So he just sits there and he puts it on the floor and calls me, and then looks at it. So I come and get the bats and let them go. Okay, he never hurts them, but he doesn't know what to do because it's not a bird. It's not a mouse.
Have you ever held a baby bat?
Yes.
Oh, it is probably the most gorgeous feeling in the world. It really is.
Well, you're going to love who we've got to talk to today.
Oh, who are we talking to?
We're talking to Jonathan Hoare. He actually has a company called Eco Solutions. He started off, I met him through the whole owl thing, but he also does a whole lot of stuff with bats.
Ah, okay.
So we're going to be chatting to him nicely, and he's going to tell us everything about what's happening with bats and owls overseas and here.
Hello, Jonathan. Nice to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, Jeremy. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Right, now, what Melanie said, you're going to expound on everything, locally, internationally, battery, owlery, and...
Okay.
I know that one of the things you've been doing is when you've been working with people in places like Soweto and Alex, is to, first of all, when we talk about owls, is to let them know that owls are not actually harbingers of doom, and they should be actually left alone and not killed. That was a big thing that you had going for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, we're still going with that. I mean, at this stage, I think about 270,000 children have participated in that program. So, it's been going for, I think, 20 years now, and a lot of kids have been through it. One of the things I always tell members of the press is if they're interested in discussing owl mythology, is just to go into a school, any school in Alex, or some schools in Deep Sloot, some schools in Soweto, and just ask a kid, like, what is an owl? And my feeling is that all of those kids will turn around and say an owl eats rats, and that's what an owl does. So it's really there in Zulu, I think it's Bamba Amagundwan, but that's what they do. They eat rats, and those kids will all grow up. I mean, actually, the program's been running for 20 years. So with some footage we shot, we got a kid who had been involved 20 years ago to talk about now. She's got her own kids now. And she was saying that she learned from that program that things that are scary, sometimes if you just read up on them, do a little bit of research, you realize that they're not that scary after all, which was quite a nice take-home message 20 years down the road.
That is a good one.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
But now when it comes to bats, people have this whole thing that bats are going to land up in their hair. But bats have got sonar, so bats should be able to avoid you. How can they not avoid my cat?
I give talks on bats all the time, and it's one of the questions that always comes up, a bat fly into your hair. And all the thousands of people that I've spoken to, when I hear that, I always respond in the same way. I say, oh, did a bat fly into your hair? Because I'd like to find someone who had a bat fly into their hair. And they'll always say, no, not into my hair, but I heard about someone who had a bat fly into their hair. I've never actually met anybody who had a bat fly into their hair, but I hear about bats flying into hair all the time. And I mean, I've just had a haircut. So for a long time, my hair was quite thick and long, and I was working with bats, and I never had a bat fly into my hair. So I don't know. I'm yet to meet you.
Have you had a bat fly into you?
Into this hair, yes, of course. This all comes surely from ancient mythology in different cultures.
Absolutely. I mean, mythology is a fascinating thing. It's we've kind of traveled with this mythology or different mythologies. And actually, when you go into different places, like in Africa, in South Africa, the mythology of an owl is if an owl lands on your roof, someone's going to die. Whereas if you go to Nigeria, their mythology is if you place the eye of an owl in the hand of a woman while she's asleep, when she wakes up, she'll be incapable of telling any lies. So mythologies vary and owl mythologies all over the world, different mythologies, some good, some negative. A lot of them to do with children and cot death, and but up until very recently, we were we didn't have a nocturnal aspect to us as a species. So when the sun went down, we went to bed. So anything that made a noise at night frightened us. Screeching, bats making a noise, things that make noise at night. And actually that is translated, even though we now live at night with electricity and things, that is translated into protection for species being weighted in favor of those diurnal or animals that are out during the day, and protection issued to or given to species at night has been far less, just because we don't really see things that come out at night as our friends. And that's almost the essence of mythology, is that we've had those fears, and those fears have permeated through our life, and we still have them, even though we know that they're ridiculous, or we can believe that they're ridiculous. We still intrinsically within us. And that's in a way the beauty of mythology, is unpacking those things and looking at where they came from and how they came up, and it's really quite fascinating.
So you've got bat boxes where you are. Do you have one at home here in Joburg?
No, the garden is far too small for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never too small to have a bat box.
No. When I say it is, it's because it's a small garden, and it's in a very small complex.
Okay.
So there are buildings all the way around, and I really I would love to have one, but I really struggle as to where I could place it.
Well, I'm sure that Jonathan could come out and tell you where you could place one.
He's
getting one sent to him.
Those bat boxes in Dullstroom, Eco Solutions put all those bat boxes up. So we do a lot of estate work and a lot of work like that. Dullstroom's a great place for bat boxes because of the mosquitoes and that kind of thing. And a lot of those bats were actually living in those buildings before we provided them with bat boxes.
Yeah.
But in suburban gardens, I mean, a bat box fits up against the wall. And we do there's a lot of bats living in Joburg and Pretoria and cities, because she offer bats almost a bat roost. The temperature, the thermal regulation of buildings is good. Most people buildings during winter, so they actually get an additional warmth up in the ceilings or in the roof. And the problem they face is that as soon as they start making a noise, or they start smelling, or there's some problem, pest control companies will come in and remove them. And often they'll remove hostilely. And these bats are off there looking for somewhere else. And that's why putting bat boxes up in Joburg is a good idea. And we've got a lot of occupied bat boxes. We understand that people don't really like them on the side of their building. So at the moment, we're doing like a Christmas thing, which is a box, which stands at the bottom of the garden on a gum pole. We're having lots of success with them in terms of occupancy, but they're not really... You're not going to have bat guano underneath your window, or bat guano on the side of on the floor below your house, or anything like that. So that's really what we're trying to appeal to for people to look at, especially for Christmas. They make nice Christmas presents, and we install them and do all those things.
And I mean, it's also with the owls. I mean, it's become a very big thing in the northern suburbs, especially for people to have owl boxes. But there's a specific way that they have to be set up. They have to be facing a specific direction with a certain height. I have a couple of spotted eagle owls that call to each other in our street quite often. I haven't heard them for a while though. How do they know where to go? How do they know that there's a place for them?
At this stage, we have 100 occupied owl boxes in Johannesburg itself. I don't actually know of any other occupied owl boxes, to be honest. So we've got 100 in Johannesburg, and we've put cameras up in them. So if you go to the Eco Solutions YouTube site, you can actually watch chicks fed by their parents and raised by their parents. And I think we've got a couple of cameras out at the moment. But the breeding season is starting to come to an end. But the reality of those boxes, I mean, just on the Eco Solutions boxes, all of those boxes are made with recycled wood. I mean, it was our ethos that we weren't going to use new wood. We just use recycled. All of those boxes actually start their life, or their comes from the motor industry in Japan, and we make owl boxes for townships, for suburban gardens from it. the key to success is actually having your box serviced, because the box itself has a substrate in it. At the spotted eagle owl, if they could choose, they'd breed on the ground. But because of dogs and lawnmowers and kids and things like that, they get up into trees. And so that box, strange enough, is filled with gravel. And that owl makes a cup in that gravel and she lays her eggs there. During the year, it's just a cavity. So other birds will come in, Indian miners or pigeons or whatever, they'll bring sticks and rubbish and all things in there. That has to be cut every year so your owls will breed. And that is the key to success. If the box falls out of the tree, it'll lie on the ground for a year or two, and then it won't be adding plastic to the environment, and a box that takes 500 years to break down underneath a tree or in a park or anything like that. The whole thing is the service. If the box is any problems, when we service that box, we just replace it. And that's how this project actually works. But 100 occupied owl boxes in Johannesburg. So what, 15 years? It's been a long project.
Well, I mean, apart from having a black cat that likes to eat rats, I also have owls in the area. So guess what? I don't have rats in my house. Touch wood. That's the most ecologically friendly way of keeping rats at bay.
Absolutely. And just to go back to the Dahlstrom option, that is part of the problem when you in a farming community, is the possibility of pesticides and all the rest of it, which can get into the rats, and then it transferred to the owls, and it does become a bit of a problem. So there's a huge amount of education that needs to go on there. Fortunately, we're in a space outside Dahlstrom where there isn't. It's not under. It's cattle farming basically. So there are no poisons around there. But the one thing that fascinates me is, always has since I was a little boy, was, and it's something that we've done as well, was an uncle of mine outside his farm in the garden put a, you remember those old, they were absolutely hideous, those old toadstool lights.
Yep.
And they actually painted them like a toadstool. I mean, how disgusting is that?
Hey, each to his own, Jeremy.
Yeah. But my uncle was pretty switched on in a way, and he put a daylight switch onto that. And every night when the sun went down, that light would come on. My holy camoli, the amount of owls that he had in the trees around his home, it sounded like you were in a forest full of owls, because all of the insects were attracted. You're on a farm, so there's not much light around. All of the insects were attracted to that. And it was in an open piece of ground. It was an absolute hunting space of note.
Paradise for owls.
For owls. And I used to absolutely love sitting there watching them coming in.
So if people want to put an owl box
Well, see owls.
If they want to get hold of, I said, if they want to get hold of you to come and have an owl box, was it for you to at least let them know whether an owl box or a bat box would be useful at their house? They must just get hold of you at Eco Solutions, because I personally
just get hold of Eco Solutions.
So,
ecosolutions.co.za, and there's a whole lot of videos there. There's videos of bats leaving bat boxes in their a lot of work in pest control and agriculture, and that's the way the world is moving, especially COP26, where people are talking about regenerative
that word,
agriculture.
Yeah,
that's the word. That's what people are trying to do, and the look at bats. You look at 300-400 bats come back bank on a citrus farm or in a sugarcane plantation. Those bats are eating 70% of their body weight every night.
Wow.
So especially lactating females. So they eat a lot of insects. And one bat that we work out probably consumes about tons of insects. So they're definitely the way to move. I mean, we're trying to work on the environment, but we're not spending a lot of time looking at the damage of insecticides and pesticides. For some reason, those big companies manage to keep everyone off their backs. But the time is coming.
The time, she is nigh.
Oh, jeepers. Walker, you sound dangerous. You are dangerous. Thank you so much for your insight. Thank you for joining us on Mansfield today. And that website, once again,
ecosolutions.co.za. Be kind to the environment. Be nice to all the birds and the bees and the little flying creatures, all those critters.
Then they'll be nice to you.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what we need to be aiming at.
Exactly. I've been nice to you for how many years? And you still
so
haven't.
many years. I'm always nice to you. I'm always nice to you. Come on.
Come on. Don't you lie. You lie in front of a camera. You lying tart.
You know how much you've got my heart.
Get off of that. Okay, guys. We'll catch you again next Sunday. Bye-bye.